This episode of the Impact Podcast is brought to you by Closed Loop Partners. Closed Loop Partners is a leading circular economy investor in the United States with an extensive network of Fortune 500 corporate investors, family offices, institutional investors, industry experts, and impact partners. Closed Loop's platform spans the arc of capital from venture capital to private equity, bridging gaps and fostering synergies to scale the circular economy. To find Closed Loop Partners, please go to www.closedlooppartners.com. Welcome to another edition of the Impact Podcast. This is a super special edition of the Impact Podcast because I've got my great friends and business partners, the co-founders of Engage, with us here today. Jake Olson, Daniel Hennes, and Brendan Egan. Welcome, guys, to the Impact Podcast. Great to have you all together.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, John.
You know, before we get going and hearing the whole Engage story, and the story only seems to get better week over week, month over month, year over year, I want you guys to give a little background on yourselves for our listeners and viewers who haven't met you yet before. Daniel, I'm going to start with you. Daniel, give a little bit about your just background before we get going. We all know you're the co-founder of Engage. Before we get into the Engage story, talk a little bit about your background, where you grew up, where you went to school, and how you even got here.
Yeah, it's great. So I grew up in Denver, Colorado. I started my first business when I was a junior in high school. It was a scheduling software for businesses with hourly employees. Total disaster, as you might imagine, like a bunch of high school kids with no adult guidance trying to run a business, but learned a lot, went through the process of building software, starting a company, all of those things. So learned a lot, and that kind of got me interested in entrepreneurship, had always been interested in sports from a young age, and had always followed it, not just who was good, but what the business angles were, what the deals were. So sort of went into college interested in sports business and entrepreneurship, and obviously I went to USC. And then when I was at USC, I met our other co-founder who's on this interview. I met Jake, and we were random freshman year suite mates. And obviously Jake will get into it later, but he's got a pretty unique story and background. And the business and everything grew really sort of from Jake and I, starting to work together. I started managing his speaking engagements, and, we'll get to it later, but after he got the chance to play in his first game, his story just went viral to the point where we knew we needed a better solution. And that's what ended up.
We're going to get to that because I want to talk about the pain points that you saw when you started managing Jake. Jake, what's your background? And, how did you even get here before we get to it? Where'd you grow up and where'd you go to high school? And talk a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So I grew up in Huntington Beach, California, born and raised in Southern California here. I've always been here now. So that's where I'm home based. Daniel has since moved to Los Angeles and is trying to copy me, but it's okay. I'm Lokes only. But just went to high school about 20 minutes away from Huntington Beach in Orange. And actually, a lot of people get confused. It's all in Orange County, but there's actually a city named Orange. So it's in Orange County. And kind of not to go too deep into it, I know a lot of people have kind of understood my story, but ended up going blind at the age of 12 due to cancer. So started kind of trying to relearn how to live life after losing my eyesight, which included playing the sports I loved, and that included golf and football. Figured I could play those two sports without seeing, finding out a way to do that. So I did, and played golf all 4 years at the high school, and then played football the last 2 years at the high school, and was on varsity on both those sports, which was really awesome. Took a lot of hard work to get there, but played varsity in golf, had varsity in football, and really just always wanted to go to USC. Was a huge Trojan fan growing up since, again, I grew up in Southern California, and I made sure I got the grades, but also getting the attention of being a blind football player, but also getting the attention of the caliber of team I played for here in Southern California in a really good league. We had coaches always looking at us, and that included Coach Sarkisian, who was the head football coach at USC at the time. So he saw me snap and pretty much said, Jake, I know you're planning on coming here. If you do, there should be no reason why you can't snap on the football team. And once I knew kind of that opportunity existed, there was no going in any other direction. I knew I needed to go to USC. I knew I wanted to go play football there. And so that's what I did. And that's how I ended up meeting Daniel, who did not believe that when he first read my room profile, that roommate profile you put on going into freshman year. He thought I was a big jokester, but here we are, Daniel. This is no joke.
You are real. I can confirm you are real. Although sometimes I wonder if you're actually blind or not. So jury's still out on that.
So, Jake, and for our listeners and viewers out there, Jake's story has been well told on ESPN. There's some great storytelling that's been done, most recently by Dan Murphy and a great team of producers at ESPN. We're going to put both links to Jake's ESPN profiles in this episode of Impact, so people could see Jake's story and the story of Engage as ESPN told it. Brendan, and we're going to get back to that, Jake. And Jake, I also love the fact that you give credit to the Armenians, because obviously you had Armenians. You now have an Armenian in your life with me, but you really started. Yes. Gave you real encouragement. Really is Coach Sark. So we got to give a shout out to Coach Sarkisian,
Shegerian, just all of them.
All the IANs, we got you covered, kid. We got you covered. Brendan, you're you and I are longtime partners, but for our listeners and viewers who haven't met you yet, talk a little bit about your background, how you got to run one of the biggest search engine optimization and online marketing companies in America, and how you got here. What's your background as well?
Awesome, John. Well, thanks for having us all on. Like Daniel, I started my first business when I was young. I was 10, and I started a leaf raking and a snow shoveling business that I was employing like 10 or 12 kids. And I realized pretty quickly that if I had them do the work, I could just run around and collect the money. So it was kind of cool. But I got involved in stock trading in 2008 when the market crashed. Made a little bit of money doing that. In 2009, I launched a trading education company that I sold 3 years later. While I was doing that, I learned quite a bit about digital marketing. And in 2012, I started a digital marketing agency here in Chicago during my senior year of college, which I'm still running and operating today. Work with about 500 different companies, doing SEO, pay-per-click, email marketing, websites, and everything in between. So I've been fortunate along the way to meet some really cool people, including the three fine gentlemen that are being interviewed here with me today. And obviously I'm also the co-founder and CMO and CTO of Engage. So that's a little bit of my background.
Awesome. Let's get right into it. Daniel, so you and Jake now are roommates at USC, and Jake's career in football is really taking off, and the media is giving him great attention, and people are calling or wanting him to start speaking or doing some public speaking. How was this idea born, and what voids in the marketplace did you see to create this idea with Jake?
Yeah, so Jake had been speaking and sharing his story really ever since he was 12, and the first ESPN piece came out. So I took over, managing that second half of our freshman year. And he had it was a very manageable flow. Like, it was a good amount, but it wasn't overwhelming. It wasn't a ton. And then our junior year, September 2nd, 2017, he got the chance to play in his first game. So he snapped for USC against Western Michigan. The story went super viral. So from there, we just started getting flooded with speaking and appearance requests. And as you said, people were calling USC. People were messaging his sister on Facebook. People were writing letters to his house. People were messaging me on LinkedIn. Like, we realized right away that the first pain point, right, was there was no centralized way to just find and book Jake. People didn't even know if he was available for speaking. So right away, we realized, okay, at scale, there's no centralized, efficient way to do it. Then once you get into the actual process, right, I had to drive to Jake's mom's house in Huntington Beach to fax somebody a contract. Like, there has to be, they didn't want it digitally scanned. Like, we're like, this industry is so analog. There has to be a better way of doing that. While all of that was going on, Ryan Harris, who played in the NFL for 10 years and won a Super Bowl at the Broncos, called me because he needed help managing his speaking, and he had a decent flow. So all of a sudden, I was a junior in college with 2 clients and really no idea what to do. So Jake and I started looking for this platform just to make our lives easier, found that there really wasn't one. And then we started calling athletes, agents, people who book speakers. We started calling everyone we knew in the industry to get a feel for what their pain points were. Were they experiencing the same problems? What were they doing about it? And the feedback we kind of got was like, yes, this process sucks, but we don't really have time, and we're not going to put in any effort to actually change it because it's going to be a really hard thing to disrupt. So we sort of said, okay, like, we're college kids, we're ambitious, we do have the time, we will put in the effort to change it. And I think that was sort of the genesis for starting Engage.
So Jake, So now Engage, you guys realize you're going to do something. How do you start putting together a business when you guys have not really done anything on this level before? And there's a lot at stake. If it's not just going to be your money and Ryan Harris's money, but the idea is to get other young people on that want to speak as well and are also seeing the same pain point. So explain the journey through what you were going through and how it really got going.
Yeah. So again, Daniel and I came up with this idea. This was pretty much in the making through a couple of other ideas we maybe had starting post college of doing something in the talent space. Again, we really had no idea what to do, how to make the platform. We were both business majors. Daniel's childhood friend who started the first business with him, who actually is CFO for Engage, is also, a computer genius. So, he perhaps could have built some type of code, but obviously we all know that one person coding it would take a very long time for the extensive platform we dreamed of. And so we were kind of just sitting on this idea, wondering, what to do with it, who we're going to talk to, who maybe we could have build it. And sure enough, we ran into one of the crazier individuals I've ever met, John Shegerian. And he was very actually helpful in not only willing to listen to us and hearing kind of our dream, which had no, again, substance or no real tangible, website or anything to it. It was just an idea. And he said, look, I got a partner who actually does deal with both, websites and coding and all the above. Why don't you guys filter out this idea a little more? I'll bring it up to him. You guys can present this a little more strategically to him. Because Brendan really is kind of the hard ass. We'd have to get it past him in order for anything to happen. And sure enough, we did that, kind of filtered our idea, cleaned it up, presented it to Brendan. And I think Brendan was very skeptical, but I do think he saw the same thing in Daniel and I that you did, which was, hey, these kids are passionate, they're smart, they're outgoing, they're really going to put 100% into this. And if at the very minimum, at the very least, something will happen. Who knows how big it will be, but something will happen. This isn't just going to be some dud idea that dies because of these kids' passion and work ethic. And so you guys took the shot to help us build that platform, which was, a process. And anyone knows it was a process. I'll let Brendan talk more about that.
I wouldn't even say was a process. It is a process. It's
yes.
a constantly ongoing thing.
But it was really because of John and Brendan that this idea ever came to fruition.
Jake, thank you. And it's been nothing but a joy working with both you young guys ever since I met you. And I'm going to go back to that in a little while. Brendan, take it from there. I call you up after my meeting with these young guys in their USC's commissary. And I said, I think I got something here. I really want you to talk with these guys. Talk about your first conversation with them, how you processed it, and then you put it through your algorithm, how you like to build things that are proprietary and also special that nobody else has done before, and how that whole process worked. Walk us through your version of how the beginnings worked and what you built as some great intellectual property for Engage.
Well, before I talk about the platform, John, I have to say Jake hit the story. I think he hit the nail on the head, but he was maybe a little kinder than he usually is. I remember having a 30-minute call with Jake and Daniel and getting off the call. And I remember you called me about 8 times during the call to check in and see how it was going. And we caught up afterwards. And I go,
only 5.
Only 5.
I don't know why he says 8. He's exaggerated
by 3. But we called up afterwards. And I go, John, you just introduced me to a kid who's 20 going on 50 and a blind football player, neither one of which know anything about technology or running a business.
At all.
Invest a massive amount of time, resources, and money into democratizing the talent booking industry with them. And you go, yes, I'm glad you get it.
Yes, we're on the way. Here we go.
And I go, wow, you're crazier than even I thought.
Well.
And, after you twisted my arm for a day or two, and after I slept on it, I realized that not only was the idea a great idea, but we were sitting on a really cool opportunity with 2 unique young entrepreneurs. And you reminded me that there was a day not that long ago where I was a young kid and getting doors slammed in my face. So you and I talked and we said, you know what, let's give this a go. What's the worst that can happen? And here we are 2.5 years later on a thriving business on a platform that, has over 7,500 man hours into building it. Some of the biggest partners in the talent booking space, 2,200 plus talents, a live stream solution, pop-up events, sweepstakes, hubs, all these different cool tools that we built that are proprietary to Engage that, if you asked me 2.5 years ago, is this where we would be in the middle of 2021, I would have said you're crazy. So it's been a fast, fun, exciting 2.5 years, and we've built what I think is the best platform in the space, and something that, we've all talked about. There's definitely going to be a Burger King to our McDonald's one day, but we're 2.5 or 3 years ahead of them. So I think we really have something special here.
Here's a question, since Brendan has to answer questions. I've always wanted to know this. How many man hours did you think it was going to take going into it versus how many you've put in?
I've been doing this, Daniel, for 10 plus years. So I know that everything takes 3 times longer than you think. It's
yes,
like
but even
a
with
house,
that,
everything's over budget, over time, over price, over everything. Right. But, the reality is that we could have built this and just said, we're done with it. Right. We could have said, hey, you can book talent. That's it. Right.
Yes. Our original specs were much different
that have made Engage what it is that, I'm excited every day. Like every day, our team has new ideas. You guys do, I do, John does. And, we're happy to keep supporting this awesome platform because not only is it fun and cool and exciting, but it's what sets us apart.
I agree. I think that's what's unique is like the original proposal that we sent and what we have now are just so different. Like so different. It's not even close. It's really funny. Like,
and I really think, like, honestly, Daniel and Jake and John, I mean, we have a platform that, is really the Uber, the Airbnb of our space. Like,
absolutely.
Logically speaking, we are so far ahead of anyone else in our industry. And that's why, that's part of why we're as successful as we are and why we get the attention we get is because we have the solution and the framework to really do anything. And when an agency or talent or someone comes to us with a crazy idea, the answer isn't no. The answer is always, we can build that. So I think we really have something unique, and we have a really cool, unique team in place that I'm really excited about what the future holds for Engage.
So now, Daniel, just tee it up. If you're on an elevator and you're on the ground floor and the thing is going to the 23rd floor and someone on the elevator says, "What do you do, young man?" And you say you're the co-founder and CEO of Engage. And the guy looks at you and says, "What's Engage?" Answer that for our audience. And for our audience out there, to find Engage, you go to www.letsengage.com, www.letsengage.com. Explain what Engage is and explain where we are now after launch and as we're starting to grow, how we've grown and what are things looking like today.
So it's about 15 questions in one. So if I miss anything, just let me know. So, and if I'm on floor one, going to the first part is basically in one sentence, Engage is a platform that digitizes the process of talent making money doing what they enjoy. That means a few things. First and foremost, our core business is we help digitize the process of booking talent for a speaking engagement. So everything from signing contracts to negotiating to processing payment can all be done through our platform. So by putting the process online and building a marketplace, it allows talent that wasn't getting attention or wasn't getting service from their agent or agency to get booked. And it allows companies that would have no way of finding them to book them. So that's the first core part of our business. The second part of our business is the sweepstakes aspect, where, for example, we have, someone on the Yankees, Kyle Higashioka, who's really passionate about supporting the military. So on our platform, he's giving fans the chance to enter, and they can pay and enter for the chance to win his autographed jersey, his autographed catcher's gear, and he's donating 100% of the entry fees to the charity. So talent can use our platform to do speaking events. Talent can use our platform to raise money for charity. Talent can use our platform. Another window is our live stream features. So virtual events are not going away. Talent like doing them, companies like doing them. So we have our own proprietary live stream where you can easily, one of our actor clients, Manny Montana, loves interacting with his fans. So our platform is the only thing out there where he can securely list his prices, get booked for the stream, and do the stream all through our platform. He doesn't have to download an app. He doesn't have to send out a Zoom. So we have this live stream option. And then we also have the ability for talent to put on their own events. One of our agency partners came to us and said, look, one of our MBA guys is doing a camp. We have no idea how to handle the ticketing, the payments, the terms and conditions. Can you guys do that? And the answer is yes. So whatever talent wants to do, we can help them make money doing.
So you're saying it's a marketplace for talent who want to be public speakers to be on, and also for people who want to book and need speakers anywhere in the United States or around the world, they can book them through Engage.
Right, because one of the hardest things is finding them and figuring out how to contact them. So we're the only platform out there where they can find and book them and know that when they submit a request, they're actually talking to them or their agent. There's no sketchy middleman. There's no ripoff. Like, we're big on transparency.
Daniel, talk more about that, because that's something I remember when you and I first met. I told you I was throwing a big birthday celebration, and we were trying to like hire some
Blackhawks player, right?
NHL players. To come in. We had a good budget. We wanted to spend like 10 or 15 grand on it. And we reached out to some speakers bureaus, and they took 3 or 4 weeks and got back to us like, oh, we're working with their agent, this, that, the other. They had every excuse in the book. Finally, they came back to us in Chicago and they're like, hey, why don't you hire this guy? And I'm like, because I don't want to hire a Philadelphia Flyer to come to a Chicago event. Like, are you out of your mind? Talk a little more, Dan, because I think that's important for people to understand. Like, why is Engage different from a talent perspective?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because if you're not in the industry and you haven't experienced it, you don't really understand it. Basically, right now, if you wanted to go book, even if you Google book, Terrell Owens, okay, the websites that pop up aren't necessarily websites that represent Terrell or know Terrell or anything like that. They're basically just a website that puts his photo on the site and says, contact us for availability. And what happens is you contact them for availability, and they will do one of two things. Either they will go try to track down Terrell's actual agent, and in the process, since there's this middleman and their business is getting in the middle, they're marking you up about 30%. So you're already paying 30% more. So either they will go try to track down Terrell's agent, or they have no idea who Terrell's agent is. So they will tell you, thank you so much for reaching out. Terrell is unavailable, but we have this other guy instead who they actually kind of know, and then they're marking you up on him. So Terrell never even knows the deal is happening. He never knows the true budget, and you are being marked up an obscene amount. I mean, we heard one of our agent friends likes to do this thing where he's Barry Sanders' agent, and he'll call an agency that lists Barry Sanders on their website and say, hi, I run XYZ company. I'd like to book Barry Sanders. What are his fees? And it goes, the agent always tells me the same thing. They'll say, well, Barry's actually not a very good speaker, but we have Thurman Thomas. You should book Thurman Thomas instead. And he's like, okay, and what is your agency name and where are you located? And then they answer, and then he sends them a cease and desist letter, because agents really hate other people listing and misrepresenting their guys. And clients, as you said, you have no way of even knowing that until years later. But clients and people wanting to book this talent have no idea how much they're getting ripped off, or how much, time they could be saving, or how they never even have any chance of getting the guy to begin with. So by creating a marketplace that is focused on trust and transparency and lists all of our agency partners and advertises that, clients can book with confidence, and agents and talent know that their guys are not misrepresented.
Tell Jake, who are the types of talent on Engage, and what are the type of companies that have been booking the talent for speaking events? Give a little taste of what kind of talent and what kind of corporations or other organizations have been booking the talent over the years since we've launched.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to actually just piggyback off of Daniel, because
Sure.
you would have never gotten that out in 23 floors, Daniel.
Right.
The first part, which is, we help monetize what talents love, what they love doing. And that's absolutely true. We find book experience is kind of our slogan. That word experience is really important, because you say speaking engagement, but what really is a speaking engagement? Well, it's an experience. It's an experience for the audience to hear what you have to say, feel what you're wanting to have them feel in that speech. And so, yes, we do speaking engagements, but to Daniel's point, we do, sweepstakes and pop-up events. Well, those are also experiences. So really, to break it all down, although the biggest experience we help book is for speaking engagements, we do allow and help really be the curator for the booking process of talent getting monetized for what they do, bringing experiences to customers. And so I think that's like the best way to put it. And that experience is really something I think we should focus on, because it is more than just speaking engagement. All speaking engagement really is an experience. To answer your question, who have we helped from a talent standpoint, and who have we helped from a company standpoint experience the talent? Well, that all comes back down to what we were talking about. It's really cool to see some of these talent that when we built this platform, we knew were going to be kind of our wheelhouse, in that these talent have great stories. They have great, they have their own fan group, but it may not be a huge fan group, but they have great stories. They're professionals. They're experts on their topics. They really have something to go out and say, but they might not be on TV all the time. They're not these A-list. They don't have a morning talk show. You're not going to see them throwing touchdowns on Sunday all the time. But these individuals absolutely have a marketplace to go out and speak to that company in your town that has 100 employees, that has 50 employees, who want to motivate those employees. Well, guess what? Both that company and that talent needs an ability to be booked and to have them be booked, and without an agent taking up an hour of his day, taking away from that person who's throwing touchdowns every Sunday, or the person with the morning talk show. So how do we do that? Well, we created, again, Engage. But so we represent a lot of A-list, but again, our majority is B-list, C-list individuals who have books, who speak a lot, but you don't know them, to corporations who are big, but also those corporations and companies that, again, really want that $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 speaker for their annual sales meeting, for their quarterly sales meeting you haven't even heard of. But guess what? Those employees matter just as much as the Apple's employees who are paying the $150,000 to get, the star in there. It just needs to be at a different scale, and that's what we've done.
But Jake, you not only have athletes and entertainers, but you also have people like Jessica Mendoza and Sarah Spain and Martin Luther King III. Plus,
right, we have those big A-list talent, because guess what? They, again, what Daniel was just talking about, they love the transparency, they love the honesty. The anecdote he used was Barry Sanders and Thurman Thomas. Guess what? Those are both A-list talent, right. And they don't like getting screwed out of deals. So we do help the A-list talent, but the majority of our deals are really for those individuals who, sorry, my screen froze, who really are not going to be focused on by those main agencies, and right. They need us. I mean, they really need us. And
then the clients on the buy side are big corporations such as Bank of America, SpaceX, and other dozens and dozens of huge brands that need great quality speakers done in an honest and transparent way.
Right. Yeah. Right. And they need to receive the same attention, whether they have 50 grand yes. or 5 grand. And that was where our platform really comes in.
Brendan, talking about the platform, the technology, I know you're a humble guy, but you've built brilliant technologies, not only for Engage, but, dozens of other of our clients over the last 10 years. But just let's talk about Engage now. Why is the Engage technology so good on how you've created and set us up for success from a technological perspective? What makes it so unique?
I think any coder can build a good piece of technology if they know what they're doing, but the challenge is in finding what you need to build to fill the void in the marketplace. And I think we were able to do 2 things. One, we were able to take our highly talented team of developers and build a superior technological solution that's proprietary, that's flexible, that can morph as we need to make changes to it. But I think even more important than that is the fact that we built this with talent for talent. And so we consulted with Jake, Daniel, dozens of our other talent advisors, with booking companies, with people that are doing the bookings, consumers, and we really understood what they're looking for in a platform and what their pain points are. And we're the only solution out there that fills that void. We're the only place where you can go and view 2,000 plus people, negotiate a contract with them online, pay online, arrange travel, all the various components of doing a booking. It sounds crazy, but we're the only place you can do that right now online with the roster of talent that we have. So I think it's as much a technology solution as it is a listening and understanding what the needs are of the people in this space and filling those needs.
That's so well said. Yes.
So now, guys, to change topics, but stay on the line of a technological solution. That's a superior technology solution. We're all getting through now. We're getting to the other side of the tragic COVID-19 period that the whole world has been absolutely affected by. What happened to our business when COVID-19 hit, and how did we evolve and not only survive, but thrive through it and come out on the other side a better company. Jake, Daniel, explain what happened and how you guys grew it, but from both a talent perspective, but also a partnership perspective in representing some of the greatest names in the entertainment and the sports industry, and became the go-to technological solution for everyone on both sides of the equation.
Yeah,
Jake?
I think. Oh, go ahead.
Danny, you can kind of talk about how we contacted the agents and the talent, and they were doing nothing because there was nothing to do.
Exactly. I mean, Jake, that's exactly the thing. For the first time in human history, every author, athlete, speaker, musician, entertainer, and their agent, we're all basically all unemployed at the exact same time. So I think we realized very early on with COVID that we had a really captive audience. So as Jake said, we said, look, okay, we're well-funded. Revenue's not going to be, even you and all of our other advisors were like, don't worry about things you can't control. Revenue's not going to be there for the next few months. Focus on what you can control. So we went out and we reached out to every agency, every talent, every guy imaginable, leveraged all the contacts we had. And look, going into COVID, we had 300 people on the platform. Now we have 2,200 because what happened is agencies shrunk. A lot of them had to lay people off. They lost the manpower. So they
give our listeners and viewers who are not in that world, like what kind of agencies are we talking about?
We're talking about some of the biggest in the world. CAA laid off hundreds of employees, WME, UTA. There was a spreadsheet going on that I was given access to of just the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in our industry who'd been laid off. And we sort of said, okay, there's this unique opportunity because agents COVID accelerated the digitization of a lot of industries. And agents were very open to technology, very open to ideas. So we did two things. One, we seized on the moment with agents and talent. And two, we built new technology. We didn't have a live stream software going into COVID. We built one. We redesigned the whole website. We restructured the whole homepage. Like we controlled everything we could control so that now, even though we're still kind of in COVID, these last few months have all been record revenue months, even before COVID, because we've laid the groundwork and we're still laying the groundwork. But I think the key was just understanding whenever there's a pandemic, it's like, okay, ignore the things you can't control and just do everything in your power. I mean, Jake and I were always figuring out what agents can we be reaching out to? Who do we know? Who can we be talking about? What can we be brainstorming on? And then how do we build new technology? And we did those two things and it put us in a good spot. I mean, Jake, you think I missed anything there?
No, I think just from a philosophy standpoint, like you said, that was real tactical what we did there, but from a philosophy standpoint, to answer your question, John, we kind of rolled with the punches. We really didn't feel sorry for ourselves that we are a talent booking, event booking platform that there were no more events allowed. In those moments you can freak out, you can panic, but we kept our heads down. We said, let's control what we can still control. Let's weather the storm, knowing that when this eventually lifts, when the storm's over, we want to be in the best possible position, all our ducks lined up in a row so we can capitalize on the boom that we're seeing now. And
not only that, Brendan, you built out some new technologies for the sweepstakes, for the online events, and also using AI. You want to talk about some of the technologies you built out during the pandemic that continue to set Engage apart from everybody else?
We built some cool stuff, John. We built the biggest thing for the pandemic was our live stream, which we're doing this meeting right now on Zoom. I think Zoom has become a household name. I think it wasn't a year ago, but it is now. And obviously Zoom is not built for having speeches and having experiences with talent. And so we built a really cool live stream that's 100% within our platform, supports up to 250 attendees, where talent can actually give on a speech or whatever it is, pop into a birthday party, whatever they get hired for, do it all through our platform. People can join from their computer, their mobile phone, their tablet, wherever they have internet access. And what's cool about it is that it keeps track of the time of how much time the person purchased. They want to extend it longer, they can actually do that on the fly on our live stream platform. They can record it, get a copy of the recording after the fact. Talent can easily manage people who are in there, answer questions. So it's really just a solution that's built for talent consumers, much more specific than, say, Zoom. So that was kind of one of our cool things. In addition, Daniel mentioned, our platform was about a year old at that point. I think we had a much deeper understanding of the needs of our customers. And so during the pandemic, we totally rebuilt our platform from the ground up, both visually as well as technologically. So A lot of really cool behind the scenes upgrades went into that, a lot of new features, a lot of things that streamline the process of booking talent. And more recently, we rolled out some really cool AI solutions where we actually have the data now to understand who gets the most booked on our platform, who's most likely to fit what needs for certain consumers. And so we actually have a simple 7-step questionnaire that consumers can come to our website and answer. And based on their results, our AI will actually pair them with the talent that is most likely to fit the needs they have based on their budget, their location, and other factors that we've factored into it. In addition to that, our team still manually reviews those requests and helps to, kind of override that AI if it has to and give some hand curated selections. So we really have built some cool things. And I think we're just scratching the tip of the iceberg. I think as time goes on and as we continue to grow, we're going to have new, fun, exciting solutions continue to be rolled out.
We have a lot of macro trends right now that are tailwinds for us and are wind at our back. What's one macro trend for each of you that you're excited about that's the wind at our back, that's giving us great momentum going into the second half of 2021 and into 2022? Daniel, you'll take one, Jake, and then Brendan.
Yeah, I think the first trend, the one that excites me the most, is talent getting more comfortable with direct to fan monetization. Basically meaning they don't need any company to come book them. They don't need anyone to tell them how to monetize. If you have 100,000 followers, our platform can help you make money via a sweepstakes or a pop-up event. And there's been an explosion because of great companies like Cameo and Open Doors. Like, there's been a great explosion in talent comfort level with going directly to fans. It used to be seen as salesy or there were worse words for it. But now it's very much, it's like now not only is it accepted, it's expected that talent wants to engage in this way, and it's expected that talent will connect with their fans on a more personal level. So I'm really excited about that trend because we're seeing it grow every day, and we're so well positioned to capitalize on that.
Jake, what trend gets you excited the most about tailwinds for Engage for us in the second half of 2021 and going into 2022?
Yeah, well, like Daniel said, I think there's going to be a big trend in companies and talent wanting to be in person again. I think there's been some really interesting and powerful conversations we've had with business leaders and heads of corporations, as well as people who are in the industry of different spaces to be booked, conference centers or restaurant kind of upper rooms or whatever. They're saying we're just booked out for 2 years. Like, we literally have just been booked out. So we know that everyone is trying to get their employees back in one room, trying to get them motivated, trying to put on these experiences to get morale back up, give people, back feeling like they're part of something bigger. So we're really going to capitalize on that demand now. And then obviously the big one that, as you mentioned earlier on in this podcast of what we were just recognized for, that is capturing this name, image, likeness with the NCAA, which is going to be really big for us in the fact that, there's this whole new $1 billion market opening up, a ton of new talent opening up, and all those talent want to be able to have a real constructive way to make money doing what they love, which, again, back to what Daniel said, is what we do.
Well, Jake, hold on one second. For our listeners and viewers who've just joined us, we've got the 3 out of 6 co-founders of Engage. We've got Jake Olson, Daniel Hennes, Brendan Egan. And if you want to find Engage, if you want to become a speaker on the platform or book one of their speakers on their great platform, go to www.letsengage.com. Go back to NIL, name, image, likeness. What does that even mean, Jake? And what is the NCAA changing its stance on name, image, likeness mean how revolutionary is that? And how is Engage going to take advantage of that? And talk a little bit about the fascinating and new partnership Engage has with Open Doors.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, name, image, and likeness is something that has been prohibited from the NCAA since pretty much its inception, and not allowing athletes, college athletes, student athletes, like they would like you to say, to make money based on their name, image, or likeness. So just because you play a sport and are well recognized and sell jerseys in the university in the university library and you're on Sports Center and you have 1 million Twitter followers or Instagram followers, you can't monetize any of that. You won't see a dime of any of that. And so,
but meanwhile,
now,
the universities are making a fortune off of these athletes playing top level sports. Okay.
Universities making a ton of money. Conferences are making a ton of money. NCAA is making a ton of money. Head coaches are making a ton of money. Everyone's making money except the actual employees is we'll kind of call them, because that's pretty much what they are. If everyone's making money off of them, that they're not making a dime. So we're not going to salary. We're not going to discuss, hey, everyone should get so much amount of money because this is a percentage of the revenue. No, let's kind of drop all that nonsense for now, and let's really focus on what is really an easy solution to at least allow fairness, in my opinion, with these student athletes, and that is allowing them to make money off of what they are known for doing, which is playing their sport. That it won't prohibit them from playing the sport, that it's not a distraction. We don't want that to happen, obviously, because they're well known for playing their sport well. But we also want them to enjoy the reward that, and reap what they sow, which in a lot of those cases is fame, is popularity, and they should be able to capitalize on that. And so that's what we're going to be really taking advantage of and helping these student athletes. Again, one, guiding them so they don't become money hungry. They don't forfeit what they're really there for, which is playing the sport. That comes first. Two, understanding that, again, it's a crazy world. There's going to be a lot of people telling them things and trying to pitch them on these brilliant, amazing, new, wonderful things that are never going to come to fruition, that are only going to probably cost them money at the end of the day. And three, allowing them to have a platform, again, like we do for all of our other talent, that is critical on honesty, is critical on transparency, and really allows them to see what is going on and having an ability to field those requests, just like Daniel did when I was in college, and execute those requests easily and efficiently.
And who's better than you guys? Because you guys are freshly minted 3 years, 2.5 years out of college, to be their trusted advisors. That mean they're going to relate to you guys the most, and you're going to relate to them the most.
And Jake lived it even better. I mean, even better is Jake lived it and made money in college. So I think you're very right.
Daniel, you're so right about living it. Take us a little bit give a little bit of a highlight of the great partnership that you and Jake did with Open Doors, and who is Open Doors and why that's so important to the NIL opportunity for everybody here.
Yeah. So Open Doors is a platform. I would say Dabo Sweeney, the coach of Clemson, called them the Nike of the name, image, likeness world. So they're the best company in the world in that space. And basically what they do is they're a platform that helps with a few things. The first is education. So they're partnered with universities to handle their compliance and their education. So they have access to hundreds of thousands of student athletes. And they also have a deals platform where, for social media appearances, for social media endorsements, you can go on Open Doors and book an athlete to do a tweet or an Instagram post. So we're partnered with them so that you can go to Open Doors and also book an athlete to do a speaking engagement or get an athlete to do a sweepstakes. So we're sort of coming in to help Open Doors on the speaking side and on the sweepstakes side. And they're helping us by giving us access to their hundreds of thousands of student athletes, helping us emerge as thought leaders. We'll be teaching a master class on speaking. So it's really a win-win for everyone. We get access to hundreds of thousands of kids with a company that's best in breed in the education and compliance space, and they get a platform that brings more revenue opportunities to their student athletes. Got it.
And just recently, the NCAA lost their case in front of the Supreme Court 9-0 on keeping the name, image, likeness from actually being democratized. What's happened just in the last couple of days? Explain, are all 50 states going to get this? Where's NIL? Where is it going in the days and the weeks ahead? Jake?
That Supreme Court was just a lead into what they say could actually end up, having a Supreme Court on this name, image, likeness. But the Supreme Court was ruling on allowing these student athletes to enjoy benefits such as laptops or other school materials, and not putting a cap on that, which I think is just absurd. I don't know why that was ever even a thing. But again, it opens the door for just how damning and critical that at least a lot of the justices were on the NCAA and what they thought of how they've been operating over the last, 60 years. So that's going to be really interesting to see if it ever does come to the Supreme Court. I know there's other court cases coming up, but again, we've kind of got a little taste, a little flavor of what the Supreme Court thinks of the NCAA. And if you're the NCAA, you are not feeling too happy about those upcoming cases. So in terms of what we actually will see, there's a couple state legislators that have created some legislation that will go in effect tomorrow.
I mean, it's all 50 states now.
Yeah, I know, but there's actual state legislation in 6 states that have allowed this. The NCAA smartly was like, we don't want this becoming you're in this state, you can do this, you're in that state, you can do that. Given that there's universities in every state, that's they should have never let it get to this, but I guess they did. So they had to come up with a solution. And now their solution is to kind of at least override their rules for the time being, kind of have these impromptu rules of allowing NIL in all 50 states.
Brendan, what macro trend are you the most excited about? That's a tailwind for us. And how do we plan to scale and grow, engage in the months and years ahead, Brendan? And how big can this really be in your mind?
I think it can be as big as any of us want it to be, John. I think the sky is the limit. I think that the speaking market alone is a multi-billion-dollar market. And I think as we venture into complementary markets, things like NCAA, things like sweepstakes and live streams, I think it's a multi-billion-dollar potential. So I'm most excited, John, about the opportunity of the market itself, but I'm also most excited about the convergence of the fact that people are finally adopting technology to do things like book talent. You may not know this, but Uber, which we all think is kind of, many people think Uber's reached its peak, and 2016 to 2019, Uber tripled its revenue. Same thing with Airbnb. They've been around for quite a while. 2016 to 2019, Airbnb tripled their revenue. They did about $6 billion in 2019. Uber did about $14 billion. So, we're talking about markets not related to us, but we're talking about technology disrupting legacy industries. And I think that we are well situated to be the disruptor in the talent booking space. And I think that the opportunity ahead of us is as big as we want it to be.
Can this company become a multi-billion-dollar venture? Can this become the next technological unicorn, Brendan? Can it be that big?
I don't think it can. I think it's when will it, John? I think it's just a matter of how long is it going to take us to reach that point and reach that type of scale. I think the growth that we've seen over the last 2 years has surpassed all of our expectations. And I think that, where we're going to be in another 2 years or another 4 years, to me, it's almost scary to think about. I think it's going to be a really fast growth. And I think we have a wonderful team in place. And I think we have a wonderful idea with wonderful technology and wonderful people behind it. Wonderful talent, wonderful partners. I think it's the convergence of everything that makes for a good company and for rapid growth.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't want this episode to go by without mentioning our other great colleagues and partners, Mike Olson, Noah Schwartz, all have a huge hand in birthing Engage and also growing Engage. So again, a huge shout out to both Noah and Mike. Daniel, there's a lot of exciting things going on right now with regards to Engage in terms of, as Brendan just said, growth, but growth doesn't come without a price. I know there's going to be some fundraising in the weeks and months ahead. Talk a little bit about the weeks and months ahead as we go into July 2021 and get on the second half of 2021 and start thinking about 2022 and beyond. What's going to be happening with regards to fundraising to fuel our growth and all the opportunities that are coming in our direction right now?
Yeah, so I think we look at it and we say, okay, fundraising is the best way to accelerate business growth. We see the return we're getting on our limited marketing spend. We see what we're doing with 2 full-time employees. And we're like, okay, if we want to scale as quickly as possible, we just need to raise more capital. So starting in the middle of July, we're going to start our seed round. We'll raise a $2 million round from a mix of angels, strategics, agents. And then from there, we'll hire a couple more people. We'll expand our team and it'll really be off and running. Like because of all the macro tailwinds we just talked about and all the forces trending in our direction, we need to go out and raise this money now so that we have the resources to capitalize right away and not miss out on a once in a lifetime convergence of forces. So I think that's sort of our thinking as we go out to raise money. And we've got a really good list of people who want to be part of the journey.
So have people been reaching out to you saying they want to invest, or how's that worked? And,
so we've got we've got a great mix. We've got a great mix of people reaching out to us, a great mix of people we know who we've had conversations and are reaching out to. I mean, it's exciting this round, right? It always gets easier and easier to raise capital. The first round is brutal, right? You're sitting in a USC dining hall and you have no business. And then you grow a little bit this, and then it's a little less hard. And then you get to the point where we've gotten to now, where we have people coming to us saying, hey, we know what you're doing. We see it. It's become more mainstream now. How can we be part of it? Is there room for us to get in? Which is a much more exciting conversation to have than the first time. So yes, there are definitely people coming to us asking to be part of it.
You know, Jake, this is a great business story. This is a great sports story. This is, you in many ways are the Rocky Balboa of your generation, and beating cancer and beating all the odds. But there's another side of the story, one that I wrote about last week, that I'm going to attach a letter that I wrote to people that follow me and follow the Impact Podcast and follow ERI. That goes about one of the other reasons Brendan and I got behind you and Daniel was also the chance to make a big difference and make a huge opportunity to create change that hasn't been done before. And what that is, we always felt that why should all the leaders of technological disruption companies and technological unicorns be guys that look like Zuckerberg or Bezos, or by the way, Sarah Blakely and other wonderful, wonderful entrepreneurs that should be celebrated. But why aren't there any entrepreneurs being celebrated that don't look perfect, like you or me or Jeff Bezos or Sarah Blakely? And you happen to be blind and handicapped. And there's 61 million people that are handicapped that don't have the hope that they can break through or be part of the entrepreneurial American dream. And now with you leading with Daniel this successful venture, that chance is now going to be realized for you to be hope and you to represent light to the 61 million disabled people just in this country. Of course, other people around the world are going to be watching that are also not perfect. But not perfect doesn't mean they don't have something huge to offer. How do you feel about being a huge icon for a generation of handicapped people, not only in the United States, but around the world, 61 million plus, that can now become part of the entrepreneurial dream, just like Jake Olson?
Yeah, I think it's a huge opportunity, John, like you said. I think that as we kind of grow and get this more off the ground and really, solidify ourselves as that huge, kind of tech company, and people can really see our progress, there's going to be a huge opportunity to have that conversation with a lot of people saying, hey, why did you choose a blind person? Like you said, a disabled person who you knew, couldn't maybe do something that a sighted person could do, or, that you knew there was going to be more challenges or more, a different way of doing it. And your answer is going to be very important to, other leaders and the like you said, the gentlemen and women that we are so used and accustomed to seeing out there, saying, look, I took a chance on this because I looked past that disability. I looked past what was in front of me and actually looked at the individual for who they were. They were smart, they were passionate, they were courageous, they knew what they were wanting, and I knew that he was, that this individual was going to go get it regardless of the path he took to get it. And so that's a very important thing that a lot of people need to understand. Hey, just because someone doesn't do something the same way you do it, or that has been done throughout history, doesn't mean that we marginalize or completely excommunicate this population or this certain people from ever having a job or ever having a job that we deem only can be held by certain people, like you said. So it's going to be a huge opportunity and a responsibility for us to share that, because it is very troubling to see the unemployment numbers that are in the disabled community, and there really shouldn't be these numbers, given that vast majority of them have a place to work. We all know the meaning, the purpose, the joy, also the hard work, but the joy that working gives you. And for someone not to have that for the sole reason that there's other people on this planet saying you can't do that, or we don't think you can do that. That's got to be really disappointing and really frustrating for those individuals. And I've known people who've been literally brought in for interviews that the employer finds out they're blind, and then they're ghosted. You know, they're never called again. They're pushed out because the employer doesn't think, you know, they'd rather have a sighted person, a blind person. And unfortunately, that's just the world we live in. But we're changing that, John and Brendan and Daniel. So, you know, thank you for taking that responsibility on, and we're only going to take on more of that responsibility as we grow.
Jake,
Absolutely.
you know, there's something you said that a while ago when we were freshmen about this that I think just stuck with me and I think is important, is that, like, just because you're disabled, you can do everything that a normal person can do. Your mind works, you can do everything. Sometimes you just have to find a different way, and people need to be willing to see the value in finding a different way and understanding that, like, you took calculus, you just had to do it all in your head. Like, you can do all of those things. You just have to find a different way to do it. So I hope people understand that, like, there is more than one way of doing things. And when you work with people to find a different way, great things happen. John and Brendan found a different way. Like, that's, it really resonated with me. So I wanted to make sure that got mentioned.
And I think to add to that, I mean, there's things that Jake does that amaze me every day that he does better than someone who can see, right? So I think everyone has their strengths and weaknesses, and it's one of the coolest things working with you guys that I've experienced over the last 3 years is just the uniqueness and the ways that Jake thinks of things that are different that actually bring a tremendous value to our company that we wouldn't have if he could see.
So well said. It's an advantage. It's a huge advantage. It's not a disadvantage. That's
Two things, guys. First of all, Jake might have more vision sometimes than people that really have eye. And that's absolutely true. Second of all, it gets also pushed under the rug and as sort of a sidebar to the core story. But in one of the ESPN profiles on Jake, it's very clear. Jake got into 2 universities. USC, which he went to, but he also got into a very small but sort of known university called Harvard, which he turned away from. But he didn't get into Harvard because he just was Jake Olson. He got into Harvard because of his great grades and because of his work ethic. And so the fact that he got into Harvard and USC and chose USC, again, what makes Jake great is that anything he undertakes, he over-delivers on. And that's why another great part of why Engage continues to succeed, because of you, Daniel, because of Jake, and of course, because of Brendan. So I just want to thank you all for today's interview. We're going to continue to tell the Engage story as we evolve it over time. I'm going to continue to have you guys back on and share different views of what's happening and how we're growing this thing for all our listeners and our viewers out there to learn more about Engage. If you're a speaker and you want to join, or if you have an organization that wants to book one of our great speakers, please go to www.letsengage.com. Daniel Hennes, Jake Olson, Brendan Egan. You're not only 3 great partners of mine, you're also 3 of my best friends on the planet. Thank you for being part of this great journey. And it's just an honor to have you guys on the Impact Podcast today.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
This edition of the Impact Podcast is brought to you by Engage. Engage is a digital booking platform revolutionizing the talent booking industry. With thousands of athletes, celebrities, entrepreneurs, and business leaders, Engage is the go-to spot for booking talent for speeches, custom experiences, live streams, and much more. For more information on Engage or to book talent today, visit letsengage.com.